Wait, I'm talking to people, not ducks. Well, anyway, here is a hatchery, an infantorium, if you will, and the baby incubators. That's what I'm talking about today on the UAP show. All right. I don't know. I've never called it that before. Well, we'll see how it goes. To save Seattle infants, they claim in the fake news they're doing it by using baby incubators. Well. We're going to see that there's no such evidence for that. But to start off, I think I'll give it my best shot to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're the authorities, they're the newspapers, completely independent newspapers that are keyed and cued on all good journalistic practices, and sometimes they actually do it, not just practicing, like medicine. Both doctors and journalists practice, play really, when they're little kids, at playing doctor, being a journalist, where their idealistic and innocent minds will play out scenarios where they actually cure people and tell news stories that are true. However, this is the surreal life. We live in the surreal world, and as such you will see that the stories, best evidence for what these infant incubators really were all about, the infantoriums. The very best story is a big pile of horse manure. Okay? And we're going to start off with that because it's quite comical and I just can't wait to share it with you. So here it goes. Just listen to this. So in this transitional period, the Seattle Times reported the frantic journey of one J.W. Davis, a desperate father who rushed through downtown Seattle from saloon to saloon, clutching his premature infant who had been placed on a pillow and wrapped in a shawl. "I must save this baby," he said. "If there is any chance on earth, can't someone tell me where an incubator can be found?" Turns towards camera, pauses for dramatic effect. The anxious man was directed, "Sir, if you head this direction, you shall happen upon what we call the Wonderland exhibit. In this place, you will learn there are incubators." They were taken away several days ago. Well, maybe he didn't tell him that. He rushed madly, holding the baby by one ankle, flailing his other arm through the air, covering one eye and pulling out his hair, dropping the baby, picking the baby up, dropping the baby again, picking up somebody's trash bag they left there, and then realizing he's holding the trash bag and running back only to see the baby was picked up by the trash man, thinking it was the trash bag, who puts it in the dumpster, hits the button for the compactor to compact it, and then he goes and has to chase down the compactor as it's compacting and gets there just in time, dodging ladders and horses and springing over prams and slipping and chasing the wrong truck for a while, all to ragtime music. Finally, Once reunited with the baby, he gets to the Wonderland exhibit to find only, sadly, the incubators had been taken away several days ago. He begs for the incubator to save the baby. The baby's mother had apparently given birth prematurely in a Seattle hotel room while visiting the city. Well, too bad. Whether he found an incubator last night could not be learned, the Seattle Times reported January 14, 1908. Well, he was stymied in his search and rushed off into the night. So he gets there and the incubators are not there, and he just goes, "Wah, wah," flailing his arms with the baby dangling by its ankle in one hand, off into the darkness, just like through a curtain. He disappears into the darkness, into the night, and you just hear, "Oh, what a world, what a world, what a world, oh, incubator, oh." And that's the end of that story. It's worth reporting, though the outcome isn't known. Oh my. All right, so they have this cafe thing. That's funny. Yeah. I don't know how much we didn't see, but there it is. Okay. Wait, let's go back further. Yeah, there's nothing special about it. It's just there. Oh, man. The electrobator. Sounds so bad. An incubator heated by electricity. Nothing could go wrong there. The babies are alongside Princess Trixie, the educated horse. So I just did a video about a talking horse and put it right next to the NASA stuff because it's equally as believable. So these things, they didn't help the babies to breathe. They didn't do anything. Just regulated the temperature inside the unit and pulled in outside air for ventilation. Nothing more. Next, move on. M.E. Fisher, physician, salesman, or concessionaire. He's a carny. That's all he was. He was a carny. But he was a better physician than the actual physicians. You'll see why. Well, okay, there was this that happened, though. An epidemic of contagious cost the lives of nearly half of them. All right, so that was bad. Like, they talk about it like there were parents for the babies, but there weren't. I didn't see any. Step right up. Daily new little ones are coming into the incubators, and with every one that comes, there is a story of heart and interest to stir the hardest of hearts among you. They are feisty, tiny little prize fighters, aided by their incubators, could fight a bottle, not only often, but for the full 3-minute round. Step right up. Get yourself a baby at the Baby Cafe. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to have a baby? We can make them by the crop. We can make them by the dozen. Get them before they're gone, all the good ones. We've got every different kind of baby. Anything that suits your needs. They also try to act like it's scientific. I don't think so. There ain't nothing scientific about that shite. And they tout the fact that the babies survived mostly, not all of them. They tout it by saying, well, if it weren't for the incubators, many more of the babies would have struggled to live and not made it, they say. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, they kept the people kind of far back from the babies? Maybe some are lying in almost inanimate positions. I bet you some of them may have not even been alive. People wouldn't have known. They just, see that blanket wrapped up there? That's a baby. Okay, give me your 10 cents. Ooh, I'm rich. So, yeah. So, where did the babies come from? Well, that's not really clear. Smaller infants would have impressed the crowds, but not necessarily survived, they say. Babies of all nations. This is kind of weird. They're hustling little youngsters of every nation. A tiny little Siwash boy from Kitsap County. A blue-eyed little Swede girl. Little Oyusha-san, the daintiest little Japanese maid that was brought over from a strawberry ranch near Bellevue. And we have a 2 months premature Ralph with an Irishman's fighting ability and the constitution of a Irish bar or Alaskan moose. I just had to make it up because I didn't know if I'd say it. Exactly how this premature birth could be daily expected was not explained. A Japanese baby is daily expected. American, English, Indian, Italian, Swedish, Syrian, and Russian babies. Children of all nations dinner. I can imagine Ernst Angley presiding over this horrid affair. Come one, come all, I'm Ernst Angley. I'm a televangelist. You can call me Ernst Televangelist, and you are special. Howdy, friends. Welcome. Come in and get a good seat in the front of my church. I'm going to teach you all about Jesus. It's just so weird how they say the name of Jesus. It's just, could be because they say it so often, but it could also be because they're just mocking. That's what they do. But I'm mocking them. But I think I'm right. I know I'm right. There's some funny business at those places, boy, I tell you what. No evidence of cafe features in incubator exhibits at any other exposition either. Clearly documenting, there are many of these signs reading cafe on the side of the building. Oh wait, no, okay, just this one. And then they say, oh, they're waiter-like looking people. Maybe there was a cafe, but no, there wasn't. So the silence begs the question whether food and drink were sold in the exhibit at all. Perhaps the term cafe was used tongue-in-cheek to indicate a viewing room where infants were fed by bottle. No. At many other expositions, babies were breastfed by wet nurses in private spaces. Not see that would have really sold there. You know, there are some people who very interested in that, which some might consider unnatural. View also a probability for the Seattle babies due to the lack of effective artificial formulas at the time. If wet nurses were employed, they may have brought their own nursing infants along. The presence of a cafe and the daycare service, as well as the apparently robust nature of infants who appear in period photographs, coupled with the extensive ballyhoo about their wide range of ethnicities, might mean that it leaned more toward, well, a money-making concession, less toward life-saving medical need. Well, that's obvious, but money-making how? Selling the babies more so than the incubators? Because remember, when it was done, the incubators, nobody wanted that shit. Nobody bought it. It ended up in the dumpster in the back. The public certainly saw, as promised, in the electric sign across the top of the concessions facade. You know, that's what this is. This is just a human trafficking thing. And this idea that it had to do with the incubators was a ruse. And they would bring in all the dupes, people who don't ask questions. And it's not the fluoride, it's just people, you know, because they didn't have the fluoride back then. They were duped. They'd go in there and look at it and they think, oh, well, I don't understand why that, what's so special about that incubator? You know, they're smart enough to be like, oh, I don't know if I should have spent the 10 cents on that. But my girlfriend is like, ooh, look at the babies, ooh, 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 ooh. So that's cool because she gets excited about that. That's cool. But for me, I would have kept my 10 cents. And they said cafe, and I couldn't even get a cup of coffee. Like, what the hell? Whether those infants were chosen or needed or derived any benefit from the scientific controlled environments. What scientific controlled environments? In which they were displayed. That sentence doesn't fit. That doesn't work. I wouldn't write that sentence and look back on it and say, yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. No. Remains an open question. The 1911 secretaries, so they made a little bit of money, whatever. It was a lot of money at the time. Indeed, if the cafe was an actual restaurant, some of these proceeds were likely generated by the sale of food. Well, okay, so they made a bunch of money. At 25 cents per head, 28,800 tickets were sold. They offered hourly child care services. Well, that could have been. I mean, that's kind of like an impromptu thing where it can actually be a business that makes money just because the need arises. Oh, shit, there's nothing here at this Yukon Pacific exhibition where you can drop off your kids or whatever. But isn't the whole... I don't know. Like, who would do that? Because you have... whatever. I mean, you take your kids there. There's all kinds of stuff for kids to do there. You don't have to dump them off somewhere in some glass box with strangers. I mean, come on. Let's see. Okay, so then through the use of an incubator, Dr. Crichton believes that the lives of many babies may be saved. Well, there's no evidence for that. In the entire city, 4 beds were devoted to obstetrical cases. So where did all these babies, where are they all coming from? Bullcrap stuff. I also do not believe that the infant mortality rate was so high. I don't believe that at all. An incubator obtained from the exposition grounds was unused during the fair period. Incubator obtained a much lower rate than possible on the open market, but there was no open market for these. And they didn't work, and so you have that, and then there's this huge disconnect from 1909 all the way up to 1948 when the Providence Hospital in Seattle had 5 incubators with oxygen therapy, which, so that's an actual thing where the air is conditioned with oxygen, which is different. And I've actually had that used once when I had pneumonia, I think. But that hospital visit when I had pneumonia almost killed me for a different reason. Medical mistakes, great. My mom saved me, though. I had an IV, and it was disconnected, and I was bleeding out, and my mom saw it. I was fine. There was a lot of blood out there, though. Okay. Infant incubators with living infants. Cool font. Cool street lamp. All right. That's a cool picture. Let's look at that a little bit more. I like that picture. Very nice. Infantorium. It's a Metallica song. Infantorium. Just don't leave the babies alone. Interior showing the incubators, babies, and nurses. But there's a happy bunch. Happy. Babies are like, stuck in the box. It's crazy. Step right up. If you forget which country you're in, look at the flag on the top. We've got infant incubators. And if you don't know, look down to the right, look down to the left. You'll see what it is if there are too many people in your way. And it burnt down like everything else. Well, this is one that was on Coney Island called Dreamland, not to be confused with Wonderland, which also burned down on the other side of the country. Yes, just all this stuff, I swear. Now, I saw this about Coney Island, and I just thought, wow. People that, like, this was really built and that was there? Wow. Okay, moving on. 1904, St. Louis World's Fair images on Pinterest. Baby incubators censored child life section. Maybe it was cafe, like abduction cafe or cafe abduction. Make it fanciful. Bonjour, welcome to Cafe Abduction, where we have already abducted the babies for you, and you can pay us a small fee and take the babies and go find your cup of coffee elsewhere, you dirty rat, you. Yep. So what we got here is an oven with glass doors and some air vented from the rooftop, which is a pipe that comes out right next to the toilet soil stack, because there isn't air in the room. You have to have air from a place you can't see, because that's safer for the babies. Yeah. Ciao. Oh, and then I saw this. So when I typed in Infantorium and I'm looking, then this Dorn comes up, and it's got the overlapping triangle things, which, if I'm to believe the FBI, which is not necessarily a good idea, but that symbol is associated with nasty stuff to deal with children, so yuck. Listen to this narrative. In the late 1800s, the world was a lot deadlier. Almost 1 in 5 babies in the United States died before childhood. I don't believe it. Which was an improvement from the previous decades. I don't believe that either. At the turn of the century, 19 out of 20 births were still happening at home. So what? which isn't a problem, correct? If the baby is healthy, which they almost always are, almost always, honestly, but not all of them were. Okay, not all of them. Maybe that's the 1 out of the 20. And so they have them at home, and if you need to, you go to that dangerous place we call the hospital and take your chances there because, well, what have you got to lose if you're already dying? Like today, a lot of babies were born too early. What? Why? I mean, if it's so common to be born early, maybe early isn't early. Maybe early is on time and the due date is a little late. How about that? Yet the majority of American hospitals had nothing to help them. Nothing? Hundreds, thousands of years of cultural history, and they have nothing to help them with books and universities and no, I'm sorry, there's no technology and there are no special skills. So what the hell was a physician then? Like, why would you even have a physician? Like, well, I ask that question today sometimes. The answer today is somebody who can make sure that you don't get any substances that would cure the disease or make you feel good. They point you towards expensive substances that will somewhat alleviate the symptoms you're feeling while making you sicker in a different area so that you keep coming back for more. And then they also condescend upon you and forbid you from anything that you partake of which may taste good or feel good, such as with a wave of the hand they can forbid dairy, or with a wave of the hand they can forbid getting up out of bed. They will tell you to take part in activities that have no value, like exercise. Take it easy. Don't split logs or anything, but do get your exercise. Spin in circles, stuff like that. Don't eat anything that tastes good. Don't drink anything that tastes good or feels good. Nothing like that. Nope, you have to suffer. You have to eat things that taste like crap and eat less of it too. Anyway, these people, they had their degrees, but they had no technology or special skills. It was just a degree. There was no central heating to keep them warm. They had no concept of heat. Doctors would place heated bricks in cribs and cross their fingers. Oh my. Doctor, can I hold my baby? No. The baby looks cold. Nope. I'm going to... He goes over to your fireplace. He grabs a brick and he's holding it in his own hands. And he goes, ah! And he runs over to the bassinet and drops the hot brick in there. And then stands there staring at you. And then crosses his fingers, but his hands are burnt. So when he crosses his fingers, he's like, ow, ow, ow. Finishes crossing his fingers. And then holds his hand out with the crossed fingers, saying, okay, you got to pay me. I came all the way out here, and I am not doing that forever. You will start coming to me for this kind of treatment when we have even less technology and even worse than no special skills. We will have skills of harming you, like unnecessary vaccines, things like that. Lion incubator on display, 1896 photo via welcome images. Okay. I don't know. Didn't we already show that? I don't know. So, okay. That's about it. A book, somebody wrote a book about the unexpected history of incubation in America. Incubate? We're not eggs. We don't incubate. Oh, here's a money statement here. He put a big glass window in the box, and then Berlin filled the boxes with premature babies. It took on an environment of a sideshow. There were drinking hall songs about it. He called it Die Kinderbrutanstalt, which was literally child hatchery. Brutanstalt. The child hatchery. There you go. Well, maybe there is something to it. Luna Park. Luna Tunes. Luna Park. It sounds like a place that ended up, years later, Scooby-Doo and the gang, Velma, Daphne, Fred, we're all there. And it's so, the guy who owns the property, he's not a suspect, so. Won't somebody please think of the children, the children? Well, so saving babies became Dr. Cuny's mission. Remember, I think this is the guy who wasn't a physician. He would often wine and dine other doctors, give them demonstrations of the incubators. He tried to donate his incubators to local health departments after the local fair was over, but no one would take them. Well, really? Okay, so I don't know. Doctors had all sorts of reasons for rejecting the technology. One reason was the disgraceful influence of the eugenics movement. Not that the doctors were disgusted by the eugenics movement. Oh, heavens, no. In fact, I think the eugenics movement was at a peak around 1850. An anonymous editorial made the rounds in medical journals disparaging the incubators. The author wrote that the human race suffered by keeping alive babies who the medical community literally referred to as weaklings. So this word weaklings is a loaded term. If you've read materials, as I have in my studies of history in school, in which the eugenics movement was considered bad, and rightfully so for a lot of reasons, maybe not every single reason, but for most of them. And they had this idea of the Superman, supermensch type thing, and then they had on the opposite side are the weaklings, there's a German word for it, but it's just the people who are undesirable, the ones that, like, supposedly the Nazis got rid of, that type of thing. And back then, the doctors were saying, yeah, just let them die. They do that today. You know that, right? If you're maybe in a situation, an organ donor or something, they may determine your organs are more valuable than your life. Give them that chance. I don't want to. Look, they have to make these decisions. I understand that. But there are some times where they're playing God and they get caught on it, but they almost never face the music in this life. The author lamented Cuny's babies would transmit their deficiencies, deformities, and vices genetically to the next generation if they survived. So they're saying, don't let them survive. That type of eugenics was hateful pseudoscience, yes. And it was not a fringe movement. It was, I think, the main movement of like 1812 to 1850 there. So these things were showed also featuring eugenics exhibits in these fairs, which you don't see anything of, I guess. So I don't know. But, so the doctors were rejecting it based on, well, the babies may suffer if we don't take care of them, but the human race suffers if they survive. I mean, come on. And then now you have doctors doing something similar, but it's a different way, where they're pushing the vaccines and pharmaceuticals and not focusing on the cure. The allopathic method is not any better than the attitudes of the doctors back then, if you ask me. I don't know. Did anybody ask me? Well, not that I heard, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't have to listen. You can go off and go to the doctor. Go to a well visit and see if you can get out of there without getting stuck with a needle or put on a medication or forbidden to do something you enjoy. So, yeah. So, Cooney, yeah, okay. So he wasn't actually a doctor, because he actually was trying to save the babies' lives. Or maybe he was a doctor and they took away his certificate when he went against the program, because the cafe wasn't about saving babies' lives as much as it was making money and getting the babies off to whoever pay the money, probably. Okay, well, we've covered this. So there it is. There are your infantoriums. The doctors didn't want it. They felt that the babies were weaklings. Either they lived or they died, and nobody made any great effort to save them. Says Beth. Beth who? I didn't catch that part. I don't know who Beth is. Beth is the last name? I don't know. First name? I don't know. But the young doctors and nurses didn't mind Mr. Cooney. That's a good sign. Because young people may not be as wise, but they're smart. And they know that they don't know. And so they come into the situation and they're smart enough to see, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So they followed his instructions. And guess what the result is? The babies lived. And he worked magic with the media and passers-by. And I love this statement. This is actually good journalism, actually, here. Wow. Even though Martin Cooney was a fraud, well, that doesn't mean his contribution to medicine was invalid. Of course not. Of course not. It means what it means. You want to go by labels, that kind of stuff pisses me off to no end. I won't listen to you. You're not, you don't have these letters behind your last name. Well, you know what? A lot of times I've been in the position where I did have the letters and somebody said something that made sense, and then they get written off right in front of me, and then I would advocate for the person and say, hey, you know what? What he said, I agree with that. That makes sense. We should consider that. And then it's like, oh, well, okay, well, now we'll do it, which is great. Okay, great for me. But how does the other guy feel when he just said the same thing? He says it, and then some snob guy, me, sides with them, and then all of a sudden it's a good idea. And thankfully, I didn't do that thing where I say it's my idea. Hell no, did not. That's such a low-class move there. So, okay. I really got annoyed at the people who made that kind of environment, because where I worked in these factories, like the maintenance people, they knew a lot more than just the maintenance, okay? They knew about the product, they knew about the process way more. And even the end products too, So anyway, the babies in his care were more than 4 times likely to survive into childhood. He didn't care about race or class. Great. That is really good. He took in babies of all races and classes. He never once charged the families. Everything was funded by admissions. That doesn't sound like a fraud to me. What makes him a fraud? That's just a bullcrap thing. So let's see what happened to him. He closed up the shop later that year. He got checks from sympathetic doctors like Julius Hess. But 7 years after his last show, Martin Cooney died penniless. Yeah. Beth Allen's parents were at his funeral. Beth was just one of the 7,000 amusement park babies to come out of Cooney's 45-year tenure as the sideshow doctor. Despite everything, Martin Cooney's attraction saved babies across America kept alive for our amusement. He did what he could with what he had available at the time. He did the best he could. It doesn't surprise me that he died penniless. Yeah, if I'm not careful, I'm headed that route too. Doing the right thing, but that's what happens, you know? It does. All right. Oh, and then there was this little thing. You don't hear a lot about marriages and stuff from these early, like these years. They're just, it seems like everybody was born after 1850 or after 1860. Like, you look at the pictures, everybody's young. There aren't really old people in these early, like, 1890s photos. Everyone's like my age, you know, like 40 or whatever. Maybe younger, maybe a little older. And then you look at like 1900 to 1910, there are just a lot of people who are 10 years older than that. And then you have a lot of children, but you don't have a lot of people at the marrying age because it's like it takes a while for all the different generations to even out, you know. So, yeah. All right, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed.